Greetings there, Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. We are here to talk about thinking skills today. Think about it. You heard these words. How would you define critical thinking? How would you define creative thinking? Which is of more value? Think about it. Let us define a thinking skill. A thinking skill is any cognitive process, thinking process, or operation that's broken down into steps and taught explicitly. For instance, inference or inferring is a cognitive process. You can teach it by breaking it down into steps right here and teaching students explicitly. Thinking skill, and you can see the steps there. All right? And we like to reinforce, this is a thinking frame, we'll learn about that, using a graphic organizer. What do you think Dorothy's life was like when she returned to Kansas? That's an inference question. We list the cues and then we make an inference. We teach thinking skills using thinking frames, and I just showed you one. A thinking frame, it is a scaffold for your thinking. It lists the steps of the cognitive process. And you teach thinking skills explicitly using the elements of effective skills instruction, and we'll show you that a little bit later. And you try to use graphic organizers to the greatest extent possible. Now, here is a cognitive process supporting a statement. Use appropriate reason, detail, or examples to support a statement, idea, or conclusion. Make the statement, gather data, organize the data. All right? Here is a graphic organizer used to organize the thinking process. I'll be a great teacher, and then supporting evidence. Okay? We use the elements of effective skills instruction to teach a thinking skill. An overview, identify the steps or procedural components. Direct instruction and modeling, watch me as I do it. These are the steps. Guided practice, where you go through one together, and then independent practice. And you can see the elements of effective skills instruction. The students will learn how to, the input, and then the activity. All right? So here's a sample thinking skills lesson. That's the purpose statement. Students will learn about creating groups. Introduction. You can see here the preview overview. Thinking skills are used to help you organize your thoughts. They have specific steps. They make complicated thinking seem easy. Creating groups is a thinking skill. These are the steps. Look at the whole, identify recurring themes, arrange into groups, and describe. Guided practice is where you do it together. You can dipstick to see if your students have got it. As a class, brainstorm to list 10 interesting events. Think out loud, cognitive model to help students organize into groups. What things are the same? And then together, look for groups. And then independent practice, or an activity where students practice doing something they already know. In your journal, list 10 things that have happened so far in the story. Create groups. Describe these events in terms of groups. Thinking skills are different than high-level thinking. High-level thinking is simply thinking that is complex. Most people think critical thinking skills is just high-level thinking, and that is not the case. Simply exposing students to high level of thinking, the benefits are very slight. Now, thinking skills instruction makes these complex cognitive processes even simpler. Good teaching makes complex things seem simple. Teaching thinking skills explicitly makes complex thinking simple and easy to do it. And that's why we teach critical and creative thinking skills. A critical thinking skill is thinking that converges on a point, and we'll be looking at that in the third section of this. Creative thinking is thinking that diverges on into many points, from one points to many. And we teach the skills explicitly to develop automaticity, meaning that so students can perform that cognitive operation without thinking about it, automatically, without thinking of the steps. All right, next one, we will look at creative thinking skills specifically.